Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the match preview segment for Crystal Palace versus Everton, Selhurst Park on Sunday afternoon. Everton going into this looking for a second straight win, hopefully, after finally arresting a terrible run of results. We're still in the bottom half. There's still loads of work to do. It's going to be a very close game, hopefully with the right result for us. But like I say, there's only I think there's a point between us. Maybe we're on the same points in the league table. So it's a very tight and fought game, and I think it is going to come down to Endeavour again. I think so. It's going to be on Everton now. I think to match the sort of application they put in that Arsenal game and take that on the road to Selhurst Park, which is never an easy ask. James, how are you feeling going into this one?
Confident, to be fair. I think we mentioned earlier that Palace that they've lost 3 in a row, all quite tight loss. I think they're all by the odd goal. Actually, United, they got beat 1-0. They got beat 1-0 by Leeds at the very end of the game. They got beat. It was 2-1 by Villa as well, wasn't it? So
right, yeah.
I think they drew that mad game at Burnley 3-3 the week before, and then they've had a very mixed run of results. I think the kind of game Everton have got to win. I don't believe we actually lost at Palace since they've been in the Premier League. I could be wrong.
There you go. There's the blinkers.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't think so, because I always think it's going to be a tough game, and then as I say, I don't actually believe we have lost at Palace. So let's hope that run continues on Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough ask though. I think they're a much improved side under Vieira than they were under obviously Hodgson. They were quite a hard, sort of gritty team, but they've become a lot easier on the eye. But I think they haven't really lost the grit either. I think obviously I think they concede a bit more, but generally they're still a very hard work and close knit team. But some extra flair thrown in. I think they're in a really good place, Palace, this season. I know they've had a bad run, like you say, but I've actually been really impressed with the business they've done in the market, the team that they've got. Even looking at the bench, I think I saw the team for the last game, and I was very impressed. I think they've actually got a better squad than we've got, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think it's far off, which is incredibly sad, really, isn't it? But I think they are, for teams going forward, Palace the blueprint now. If you've got an aging squad, I think they had something like, they had more than a dozen players out of contract at the end of last season. They had like Scott Dan and James Tompkins and
Townsend,
James McArthur and Andros Townsend. Yeah, I know James McArthur's still there as well, but they had so many players, late 20s, early 30s, some going into their mid 30s, and they've just gone and bought for good money, but they've gone and bought for good money players who are younger, like Joachim Anderson, he's sort of mid 20s, Mark Gay, Tyreek Mitchell was obviously already there from the academy. He looks like a top prospect. Eberechi Eze came in last season. He was sort of the start of it. Michael Elise, Nathan Ferguson, John Mateta. They've signed Conor Gallagher's been one of my favourite players to watch in the league this season. I think they've signed and recruited really, really well. And why Everton can't have done what they've done, I didn't even mention Odsonne Edouard there, for example. Why we can't have done what they've done over the last few years, I'll never understand. But they've now got half a dozen sellable assets who they could flip for a massive profit. They kept a hold of Zaha, which, whilst I think they should have sold, to be honest, certainly a couple of seasons, maybe when we were interested, maybe the season after, they should have probably made hay while the sun shines and sort of moved him on. He's nearly 30 now, which makes me feel very old. But I think, as you say, they've got a good squad, possibly better than ours. I think it's more balanced than ours for sure. And I say it's definitely got more sellable assets. So definitely be a tough game. And yeah, I've been impressed with them this season as well, by and large.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, as a club, I think I really like them, but I'm actually very envious of, like you say, the transfer policy. I'm very envious of probably the other 19 teams' transfer policies compared to ours. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but it's utterly ridiculous. But I don't know, like you say, why we can't follow that sort of model of bringing in these sort of players. No. I know obviously we need to get our affairs in order financially to be able to even spend, the 10, 15 million fees that they spent. But that is where we should be looking, and why we don't do that, I don't know. Hopefully, a bit more joined up thinking wouldn't go amiss, and maybe now given sort of maybe ended the power struggle over transfers with brands going, and maybe we might see an improvement, but that remains to be seen. Obviously, we haven't even had a transfer window to see any sort of effects of that yet, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think in a mad way, maybe not being as crippled as we are, but if we weren't as bad financially, this could have forced our hand to be like this. At the end of the day, we brought in, obviously Begovic hasn't done anything other than fail to save a penalty. Rondon's been absolutely useless, but Townsend's been fine and Gray's been quite good, and they cost 1.7 million. Palace have spent a lot of money. I think Anderson, I'm not sure he's come on loan. I think he went to Fulham on loan, didn't he? I think he might come to Palace permanently now for 20 odd million. Mark Gay's 20 odd million. They have spent money. Mateta costs a little bit. So they have spent a bit of money, Eze and the lease. I think they were sort of 20 million combined, 25, 30 million combined. So they have spent a bit of money, but they've gone and cherry picked the best talents out of the division below. Whether that was Gallagher, who obviously was very good at Charlton, less effective at Swansea overall, probably, but was very good at West Brom last season. Nathan Ferguson, I know he's not kicked the ball for them, but that's the forward-thinking approach we should have gone for. You could say in some ways maybe we did that with Nkunku, but we just managed him so badly because we had a manager who didn't want to play anyone who was below 25 years of age. In obviously Ancelotti last season. So yeah, I am very envious, and as you say, I probably am. I'm struggling to think of another team. I'm not envious of their transfer policy, to be honest. No, I don't think there is anyone is there. I think we are that bad at this point now. You've got to say that, but who knows? I say maybe this will force our hand to go look at lads who are having their contracts expires, who are going to be looking at tribunal fees, like Nathan Ferguson again, for example. Looking at lads who have performed well in the Championship League One level, go get them in. Who knows? That could be the recipe for success for us.
It has been in the past because we've had a lot of flops, but also you've had your Ben Godfrey's, your Calvert-Lewins, who've come from, like you say, the lower tiers and done well.
Holgate Jones, Tim Cahill, going back that far, there's been plenty.
Yeah, it's always been a decent stomping ground for us in the transfer market, and I don't know why we don't use it more. When you see, like you say, the players Palace have just recruited there, some of those players from that level, the majority of those signings we just reeled off for Palace have all come from the Championship.
I think why we
there's
have
gems there.
Well, exactly, and it's one of those frustrating things where I was talking to someone, here's a lad in work I was talking to about why on earth did we not sign James Maddison a few years ago when we had money, we had pulling power. He went to Leicester, and it's like, I know he had a dip in form for the last maybe 6 months or a year or whatever, but that first season he came to the Premier League, he was a breath of fresh air, and he looked brilliant, and he's looking brilliant again because he's a top player. And I think the reason why we haven't done that is Farhad Moshiri and Ronald Koeman. I think they were the main two reasons why we didn't do that. They didn't want to go after these young lads who want to progress. Farhad Moshiri's always fought Hollywood. He's always fought New Stadium, which is great. He's always fought Ancelotti. He's always fought Koeman. He's always fought Benitez. He's always had this idea in his head that everything's got to be top dollar. You hear that supposedly Bill Kenwright, which is just bizarre, but Bill Kenwright supposedly heavily involved in getting Ben Godfrey, for example. I just think he's always looked for glamour, and now he can't do glamour. Who knows? Maybe we've even missed the boat on getting these lads in because, as I say, Elise's costing 8-9 million, Eze up to 20, Gay up to 20. We probably just can't even do that at the minute, which is a shame. But say big, as I mentioned earlier, big pressure on Benitez to go and try and find these gems for cheap who are really going to improve us. That's what Everton fans want.
Another thing, especially in January, of course, the January window. Whatever happened to signing players on loan?
I know we used to love doing that. We used to do that. We used to sign at least one pointless loan player a season. You think of your Atsus and your Mangalas and your Lucina Traores. We absolutely loved it.
It's one of those though, just the bulk of the squad options, like in the event of another injury crisis, like what we've just experienced over the past month. Just something along those, just something to keep us ticking over in the event of a few injuries.
We were led down the garden path of him to Maitland-Niles. What's gone on with him this season? He's been nowhere to be seen for Arsenal, and yet we weren't able to take him on loan. I wouldn't be surprised if we went in and tried to sort of go after him again in the January. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. But they're the kind of players that you think low risk, good age. If he was to come in and do well, he could go for a few more million. We need to bring people in who are going to be sellable assets because for too long we've gone and bought people who got no resale value. We sound like a broken record. We say this every time, but we've gone for players we can't sell, who've got no forward planning. So many players in our squad now we'd lose huge money on, and we need to build from the ground up, get lads in like they were the age profile of these Palace boys, and even if they're not good, they still go for good money. Like that's the kind of thought process we need now.
Certainly, I think with that in mind, obviously we speak about the game coming up. The one thing young players tend to have an advantage with over older players is pace, and they could run us ragged in respect of pace.
Yeah,
That's where I think that's where a worry for us in this game.
I'm worried about Christian Benteke up against not necessarily Keane, but more Holgate or Godfrey in the centre, because he's a big lad, isn't he? And he's got I feel like he's got a knack of scoring against Everton. I think the pace of Ayew and Zaha, maybe not even necessarily just pace, more energy. Like that's something that for so many years now, since we've been like this team of snails that we've seen over the last sort of half a dozen years or whatever, where you come up against these midfields that have got the likes of Gallagher and Schlupp and whoever else in who've just got energy to burn, and we just haven't quite got that. We've got Decore back now. I don't think Alan's particularly energetic anymore. Andrew Gomez hasn't got that. I love it. We went and signed like Ains Maitland-Niles. He'd be great in that centre mid role in terms of energy and that burst of pace as well. Because that is something we do sorely lack. And I'll have to see what team we put out, obviously. But as you mentioned, I think the pace and the energy, that's going to be a real issue for us on the weekends.
Yeah, I think so. With that in mind, how would you go about combat and that? How would we set up? Is it got to be a bit sort of rigid, a bit more defensive?
Well, I think that free midfield, I think match them up. They're probably going to play free midfield. And as I say, I think Schlupp played there against United, which is interesting because obviously he's more a left back, come left mid, come left wing, and he's playing in the centre. I think we need to go for a 4-3-3. I think the likes of Gordon, if he used to play, you might even drop Gordon. You may think, well, I want to trust Townsend and Gray to be a bit more sort of up and down. I've got probably a bigger tank to work with than someone like Anthony Gordon. He was absolutely blowing out his arse on Sunday. If there's one player this game isn't for, it's Alex Iwobi. I think he'd be absolutely run ragged. He came up against Tyreek Mitchell and Zaha down one flank. You wouldn't know what hit him. So I think we need to pick the most players, the best pace, best energy, the best sort of way to combat them. It's going to be like that. It's a massive shame Yerry Mina doesn't look like he's going to play. I'd be shocked if we saw him playing on the weekend. Because he'd be perfect to combat Christian Benteke. But yeah, this is the problem Everton are in now. I'm talking about the likes of Benteke and Jordan Ayew as being massive threats when they wouldn't get in our team. It's one of them, isn't it? So
You say that, but I think the majority of first 11 gets in our team. I'll be honest.
yeah,
I think,
no, I agree.
obviously maybe not Benteke over Calvert-Lewin or Charlison, but you go through that team, I'd probably say a good, like, out of the other 10 of them, I'd say a good 5 or 6 of them at least get in our first 11.
Yeah, I'd take Conor Gallagher. I think he's someone, if he's not going to play for Chelsea next season, he's going to want to leave. We've got to be sniffing around him, surely. I'd be
Absolutely.
all over him. It could be an absolute dream sign for me. I think Tyreek Mitchell coming at
Mitchell,
left back ahead of Ben Godfrey, for example. Mark Gay slots in. Jakob Anderson probably slots in. I think it's quite close between the goalkeepers. I'd probably stick with Pickford. The right back, I'd put Joel Warden ahead of Seamus Cole in the way he's played this season.
Definitely.
And even Joel Ward, I think he's only a few years younger than him, so it's one of them. But yeah, they have got up to half a dozen players who I think would walk into our team, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's a damning indictment, like you say, of like the state we're in. But obviously, there's still, I think we could still get a result, and we also think we must get a result. So, like we say, we've just got a good win over Arsenal, but I feel like if we lost this game, it wouldn't mean very much. Even though obviously the extra 3 points on the board, but we need to get a bit of momentum together here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, seeing how Chelsea get on the weekend, they've had another disappointing trip, as I said, to Russia yesterday. If we were to go into that game on next week, which is a massive game for us, Benitez going back to one of his former clubs. He wasn't particularly well liked there until he won a cup or two. I think that's a huge game for us. And whilst I don't expect Everton to go to Chelsea next week and to necessarily get a result, I think that's the kind of game where if you can go and pull something out the bag, we loved Ancelotti for getting the result against United and your Liverpools and your Arsenal, etc., etc. that'll be a huge feather in Benitez's cap. So go get the results on Sunday. Everton should win that game of football. I think, even though what we've said in terms of them having better players in some regards and players who get into our team, I think we've got enough to be better than them coming off that result on Monday, especially. So I think go and get the results on Sunday. It's not going to be easy. Take a 1-0 all day. And then go into next Thursday with nothing to lose and hopefully some confidence. We've not had confidence in this team since the first 4 games of the season, or first 5 games, whatever it was.
Certainly not. I think, like you say though, I think the Chelsea game's interesting as well. Looking ahead to that, because obviously, with all respect, anyone tuning in who's an Arsenal fan, I don't think Arsenal are an elite team anymore. I think to go to like a Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, Man City, one of those 4 maybe, and get an away win, that'd really surprise me. And I think that'd really win fans over with Rafa Benitez if he was to achieve a result like that.
Yeah, I think you talk about Arsenal being an elite team. The only team I think, if Everton were to beat, I'd say, wow, it's a great result, is United, Chelsea, or Liverpool. Anything else that's like, sorry, I meant City, not United. City, Chelsea, or Liverpool. I think I look at that and I say United, West Ham, Leicester, Arsenal, yeah, good results. Tottenham, yeah, good results. I think they're the kind of teams that Everton should be going toe-to-toe with and saying that we can beat them, especially at Goodison under the light on a Monday night. But other than those 3, I think any other result is kind of like, yeah, good, done well. I'll take any for them. And obviously, but you get what I mean in terms of
obviously win. If you get a win, it's always good, regardless of who you beat.
Oh
You beat
yeah,
what's
yeah,
in front of you. But
absolutely.
if he gets a real scalp like a
Yeah,
Chelsea or a Liverpool, I think that really sort of endears him to the fans a bit more. I think that's what it's going to take to really win Benitez over to Everton fans, and even then, it might not completely win them over for obvious reasons, but that's the kind of thing I think, like you say, you need that feather in his cap.
I think last season you looked at it and you'd said, well, we got a draw against Leicester, for example, at home. We beat them away, obviously, as well, and you're thinking that's a great result, and it was. We won away at Arsenal. We never won at the Emirates before. Great result. Liverpool, doesn't matter. I know they were shite at the time, but we went and won a derby at Anfield for the first time in 22 years or whatever it was. We got a great result against United from 2 goals down. Last season, it felt a bit different. This season, you look at the standard, and I think those top 3 teams, I might be wrong now, I think they're the only ones who've got positive goal difference. So it's
the top 3, West Ham and United, I think, are the only 5 teams in the league with positive goal difference.
There you go. And it's like, you're looking at that and you're thinking, they're the only 3 who I'd say is, as you say, they're the only 3 real scalps. They're the only 3 who, at the end of the season, when you're digesting it, unless someone like Leicester or Tottenham could well do, for example, turn it around and end up being quite good by the time we play them next. I think they're the only 3 who at the end of the season you'd say, oh, well, that was a great result. That was a feather in his cap. That's a reason to keep a hold of him or to give him another season or whatever it might be. I don't know, but they're the big 3. And I say, win this game on Sunday, go into next Thursday, and you think, well, why not?
Well, that's what I mean. It's all about momentum. I think off the back of the Arsenal win, we need to keep that going. And with that in mind, we'll go into the sort of personnel. What team would you go with for the Palace game?
Well, Pickford in goal. Obviously, we haven't got any other option at right back other than Coleman. If Mina was fit, definitely Mina. But otherwise, I think Godfrey, Keane, bring Luka Dean back in. Hopefully that's all been sorted now. Whatever's happened, I don't know. I don't think we're ever going to find out properly what's happening. I know the Athletic report or something. Dean's come out and said it's not true. So it's one of them. I just hope you can get him back into left back. Whilst I do like Godfrey, I think Dean, if he can get forward a bit more and have that bit more progression, which I think he wants. I think he's a larger asset for us. I think the 3 is the one that touched on Alanda Core, and I'd go for Andre Gomez, which sounds a bit mad to me, but I definitely would go for that. And then I'd go for Gordon, Gray, and Richarlison. I think Townsend's been off it a little bit last couple of weeks. Up against Palace, though, would you sort of say maybe? I know he's not got something to prove to them, whatever. I believe he was offered a contract there, and he wanted to move to pastures new. So it's one of them. Does he want to go there and have a point to prove or whatever? But I think he's been a little bit off the boil the last few weeks. I think that's kind of what you get from a player who's free and getting a bit older and stuff. I think the sort of original hype around Townsend maybe isn't quite what it was now. But
yeah, also I think playing in a team low on confidence, even if you're doing relatively well, I think it does drag your game down.
Yeah, no, I think so, and it's not a criticism of Townsend. I like him. He works hard. He was lucky not to get an assist the other night, obviously for the first goal. It's disallowed, that sort of thing. He overhit a few crosses, he overhit a couple of dead balls, which is always really, really frustrating. It's just those moments where you then think, well, this lad actually, at the end of the day, as much as he works hard, and as much as I do quite like him, he's not the best winger I've ever seen play for Everton. He's never going to be the best winger I've ever seen play for Everton. He's just all right. So I'd keep Anthony Gordon in. I think he deserves that. And also, as well, you could mention Townsend. He's not playing as a winger at the minute, is he? He's playing as a number 10 or even like a centre mid. It's been a bit bizarre. So that's, to be fair, that's also
That's
something
probably
to take into account.
Northard's own game a bit. I think that's probably not in anyone's best interests. I think we'll probably need him on the flank if he does play, like you say, to track back maybe and help Coleman. If he does play, that's where I'd like to see him.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's always interesting when a player's just left a club and you think, well, what does he know? Does he know weaknesses in Tyreek Mitchell's game or Joe Ward or Nathaniel Klein's or whoever he might be up against, where to play? It's a conversation to have if he goes into it thinking, I know I can skin him, I know what he's good at, what he's not good at. It's one of those interesting things, isn't it? We'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't mind either him or Gordon on the right, but I'm desperate for Anthony Gordon to do something. I want to score a goal. That's what I'm absolutely desperate for. So hopefully Sunday could be the day, maybe.
Oh, fingers crossed. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there anyway. Predictions to finish off. James, what are you going for?
I think my head's probably going for a 1-1, but I think my heart's saying 1-0 to Everton because I just think, I said, we don't concede many goals at Palace. We beat them by the old goal last season. Remember, we drew a game there 0-0 the first season. The season under Marnes beat them 1-0 in between, and then Naismith scored. Or was it Lukaku? I can't quite remember. Coleman scored a very late winner there a few seasons ago under Koeman. So we've had a lot of tight games at Palace. It's never a high scoring affair. So I will go for a 1-0 Everton win, and that would just be perfect for me. Get us another 3 points and get us looking up rather than down.
I'm never the most optimistic when it comes to these predictions at present. I'm gonna go with 2-2. I think it's gonna be. I think Palace at the moment, all the games, whether they win, draw or lose, are always high score, and I think we've got goals in us as the team improves. I think if we maintain that level of performance from the Arsenal game, I think we've got goals in us, but I also think we can concede. I don't think the defensive line is I don't think the defensive solidity is there just yet. I think still a lot of improvement there as well to be done. I think it's going to be, I think we'll be a threat, but we'll be threatened as well. I think it'll be a 2-2.
Yeah, it's. I just remember the other game we did draw against them 2-2 when the Ash was famously retrospectively banned, wasn't he, for diving?
Oh yeah,
If you remember, yeah, I remember that game. Now I think he scored, and I think Leighton Baines scored as well. That was under Unsworth. If we take
yeah. He
some shots,
scored the penalty. Bain scored the penalty after the dive, didn't he? I think.
yes, that was right. Yeah, and then I believe Nias scored another one of his really bad goals, which he seemed to score every week at that point.
Yeah, that was a really interesting time. I don't know whether I'd rather have that time or this time. To be honest,
Interesting is a good word to use, isn't it?
I think the entirety of Chiri's reign as owner, to be honest, could be classified as interesting.
yeah. I think the thing with that part, just to try on there, but the thing with that was that you're thinking we were quite optimistic. So it was like we got rid of Koeman, we got a new manager, and we got loads of money. It sounds, but now we go with them, we're thinking we haven't got any money. We've got a manager that none of us really like, and now Palace look quite good. So it's one of them.
Yeah, it's tough, but there you have it, guys. We're going into the game open for a second straight win. I think we're all feeling a bit better, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Let us know your opinions, your feelings going into this game. Drop us a comment, give this video a like, and subscribe for more content. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching on the Toffee Blues. Also, though, don't forget to check out the Everton Direct store as well. Don't forget to click the link in the description below, and of course the Toffee Blues own store. All those links, like I say, in the description below this video. Check those out and get your Christmas shopping done. Got a couple more weeks till Christmas. So yeah, get those in as well. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.